Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the first part in a three-part series that I'm doing on how to count macros. So today we're going to be talking about what macros are, who can count macros, the best way to start counting macros, and what it can do for you. So starting off with what macros actually are, there are three main macronutrients. They are carbs, fats, and protein. And they each do something a little bit different in your body. So proteins are very good for helping build your muscles, they boost your metabolism, things like that. Carbs are great for giving you energy. Your body uses glucose, which is broken down from carbs, as their main source of energy. They're also usually a little bit more filling than the other two, and they are probably the most prevalent thing in a standard American diet. And lastly, there are fats. They're also used as energy forms, and if your body is devoid of carbs at the moment, then they'll use fats as energy sources, and they help with the general structure of your cells. So your body needs all three of them to function at its optimal level, and this is kind of why you don't want to be cutting out things when you're dieting. You just want to maybe decrease the intake of them or redistribute the calories that you're eating to other macronutrients. So all food is comprised of these three macronutrients. There are carbs, fats, and proteins in everything that you eat in various quantities and ratios. So many things are just one of them, of the three. You know, there is shrimp is essentially just protein, whereas rice is essentially just carbs, and oils are just fats. But most of the foods that we eat are a combination of the three. So, you know, you have ground turkey, which is, if you don't get the lean kind, you have more fats and protein in that as well. A lot of granola bars and protein bars are a mixture of the three. They have a lot of carbs and fats in it and a decent amount of protein. So it can get a little confusing when you're first starting to count because not everything is just in one of the buckets. You have to learn how to make an entire day's worth of meals, hitting your macros with the food that you're eating. So going into that, what macro counters do and what the basis of macro counting is you have a set amount of carbs, fats, and proteins for your day that you have to hit. So, you know, it's essentially the same thing as calorie counting. You're just being a little more specific on where your calories are going and coming from. With calorie counting, you know, you have to hit your 2,000 calories a day, and you can eat what you can in the day to hit that 2,000 calorie mark. Same thing with macro counting. Say you have 150 grams of carbs, you have to hit 150 grams of protein and like 60 fats. So what you eat during the day, you're going to add up and, you know, disperse what you're eating and make it fit so that you get to hit those levels. And this is really good. It's non-restrictive. You can eat whatever you want in the day. I mean, you shouldn't be eating just Starburst for your carbs and just protein shakes for your protein. You need to have healthy, nutrient-dense foods in there. So I eat a lot of chicken and vegetables as well. But I do also make time to sometimes give myself a couple Oreos here or there because they're my downfall. And the more you restrict yourself, the more you're gonna binge later. So with macro counting, you're able to get your nutrient-dense foods in there, but also put in a few snacks and then fun treats every now and then. For this reason, I feel that macro counting is the best way to diet. Macro counting is non-restrictive. Like I said, you shouldn't be eating all of your macros from candy bars, but it's not restrictive in that you can only have chicken and broccoli, and then you've been wanting something small for a very long time, when on the weekend when you have your treat meal, you go completely overboard. So macro counting kind of eliminates the need to binge because you are able to put in foods that you like in your day, and then you don't go overboard when you have that freedom. This is one of the #1 reasons that I really like macro counting. With my first prep, I did a strict meal plan and I had chicken and broccoli for 5 meals out of the day, and then I had egg whites in the morning with a little bit of oatmeal, and that was it. I had really no variety in the food that I was eating. I was sometimes able to you know, switch out fish for the chicken and sometimes asparagus for the broccoli, but really it was just that. And now with this prep, I'm able to fit foods that I really like in there. I do 6 low carb days, and then I have 1 high carb day. And the idea for that is that, you know, carbs are what you want to fluctuate with when you're going to do what's called carb cycling, which is a whole different story. But on my high carb days, which is Saturday, I'm able to fit in maybe frozen yogurt or a burger and fries because I have higher levels of macronutrients to play with, and I don't have to worry about going over. Then, you know, you're guilt-free, you know you're fitting in your macros, you know you're still able to hit your goals, you can enjoy the few little treats here and there guilt-free, which is not the case with a lot of other diets. Speaking of other diets, if you do have special dietary restrictions, like you are vegan, you're lactose intolerant, you are gluten-free, stuff like that, you are able to make your own meal plan based on what you can eat, what you like to eat, and still hit your goals. So who can count macros? Literally anybody. So if you have a phone, or some people use an Excel spreadsheet or just a pen and paper, you can count macros. And if you're able to know what's in your food with the food labels, or even just estimating, you can look online. Choose My Plate is a very good resource for things like this. You can count macros. So to start, what I would do is I would track my macros for about 3 days. And to do this, just get yourself a little food diary or food journal, or even just a piece of paper, and write down every single thing that you eat for 3 days. You will get to learn the foods that you trend towards. If you're more carbohydrates, fats, or unlikely, but if you're more trending towards proteins, you will get to see where you are overeating in that area. And this can help you kind of reformat your diet when you do start actually tracking. So the standard American diet is very heavy in carbs and fats and not that high in protein. So that might be the first thing that you would have to change, is you have to cut down some of those carbs and fats and then up your protein. This doesn't mean that you have to restrict yourself in those, you just may have to have a smaller portion size. Another benefit of macro counting is you really get to know what works for your body. I know that I am personally pretty good when I am higher fats, lower carbs, and a moderate amount of protein. So, and I know what foods do what to me. And I know that, you know, certain yogurts I really can't eat. The macros might be there, but I can't eat them because they react weird with my stomach. Or I know that I prefer to eat carbs kind of in the middle of the day to earlier in the day rather than later, because I bloat later in the day. So you really get to learn a lot about your body and what works for your body and the foods that your body really likes to use for fuel, which is pretty cool. And that's something that you learn very early on, actually, when you're first playing with making your meal plans. So I would consider that one of the major benefits of macro counting. And I know that intuitive eating is very big right now. It's all over in the fitness world. So macro counting is something that once you do it for a while and you understand how your body responds to things, it will be easier to transform what you're eating into intuitive eating, and you won't have to track anymore, but you'll still be able to get on track with whatever your goals are, bulking, cutting, maintaining, whatever they are, once you understand how food works. So start to track your meals for 3 days. This next video is going to be coming out on Wednesday. So track all day today, tomorrow, and then all day Wednesday. Maybe check the next video on Wednesday evening, and then go to the next portion. Along with the benefit of not having anything to restrict yourself, my first prep was strict meal plan. And afterwards, I really did binge. And on the weekends when I had my high carb day, I would go crazy. I would get a burger and fries, ice cream, donuts, a milkshake, stuff like that. Like, I would get everything for one meal and just gorge myself, and that's not the best technique. So now with macro counting, I'm able to put in, like I said, a few treats here and there in the day, an Oreo here or there. On the weekends, I'm able to fit in my fun meals so I don't feel like I'm binging. And I've even fit frozen yogurt into my normal low carb day. So if this helped you, if you're at all interested in counting macros and you want to continue following along with this little series that I'm doing, please hit the subscribe button. Comment down below if you've ever thought about macro counting, or maybe switching up your diet to something that is less restrictive, more personalized for yourself instead of a given to you meal plan. And while you're down there, make sure to give it a like if you're interested in this and want to continue watching, or if this helped at all for you to understand what macro counting is. And I will see you in the next one on Wednesday, and we will talk about the basics of tracking. We're going to go over MyFitnessPal, basics of reading food labels, the basics of tracking, and just kind of how to get started with this. See you on Wednesday, and thank you for watching.